In 2022, fuel prices exploded across the world. Food became more expensive. Inflation surged. Families struggled. Markets panicked. And suddenly, millions of people started asking the same question. What is happening to the economy? But here's the strange part. Most people were looking in the wrong place. Because the crisis wasn't only about fuel, or inflation, or politics. It was about connection. A war in one region affected gas prices somewhere else. Oil markets influenced transportation. Transportation affected food prices. Food prices changed inflation. Inflation changed interest rates. Interest rates shook global markets. One connection triggered another, like falling dominoes. And that's the part most people never see. The modern financial world is not controlled by one thing. It's controlled by relationships between things. Invisible connections. Connections between governments and banks. Between fear and markets. Between technology and wealth. Between power and money. And once you begin seeing those connections, the world starts looking very different. Because if you don't understand connection, you don't understand money. Part 1. The biggest financial illusion. Most people think money is simple. Work hard. Get paid. Save money. Repeat. But the deeper you look into the financial world, the stranger it becomes. Think about this for a moment. How can one speech from the Federal Reserve move trillions of dollars in minutes? How can one tweet from a billionaire affect entire markets? How can one war increase food prices on the other side of the planet? The answer is connection. Everything in the global economy is tied together. But most people only see the surface. They see stock prices, bank accounts, inflation, recessions, without seeing the hidden systems connecting them all. And that's why financial news feels confusing to ordinary people, because they are watching individual events instead of the network behind the events. Part 2. The world runs on networks. Imagine the global economy as one massive machine. Every country is connected. Every bank is connected. Every market is connected. And money flows through that machine constantly. Your phone alone proves this. It may be designed in California, built in Asia, powered by minerals from Africa, shipped through international trade routes, purchased using digital banking systems. One object, hundreds of global connections. Now imagine that same complexity applied to oil, food, technology, real estate, and financial markets. The modern economy is no longer local. It's global. And that means problems spread faster than ever before. A banking problem in America can affect Europe. An energy crisis can impact Asia. A supply chain disruption can create inflation worldwide. Everything touches everything else. And money moves through those connections like electricity through wires. Part 3. Why the rich see the world differently. Most people think billionaires are simply smarter with money. But many wealthy investors actually think differently. They don't just study companies. They study systems. When ordinary people look at artificial intelligence, they see robots or software. But smart investors see much more. They see increased demand for computer chips, massive energy consumption, data center expansion, government investment, automation, job disruption, new trillion-dollar industries. They see connections. And that's exactly how wealth is created. Not by reacting emotionally to headlines, but by understanding how one change affects everything around it. This is why people like Warren Buffett rarely panic during market crashes. Because experienced investors understand something most people don't. Markets move emotionally in the short term, but systems move logically in the long term. And once you understand the system, fear becomes easier to control. Part 4. Fear is one of the strongest connections. Money is deeply emotional, much more emotional than people realize. Fear spreads through markets faster than logic ever can. During financial bubbles, people become greedy together. During crashes, people panic together. And social media made this even more powerful. Today, fear can spread globally within minutes. One headline, one rumor, one viral post. Suddenly investors everywhere react emotionally at the same time. And because markets are connected, those emotions become financial movements. This is why modern volatility feels extreme. The internet didn't just connect information. It connected human psychology. And psychology moves markets. Part 5. The connection between debt and power. Debt is another connection most people misunderstand. Governments use debt. Corporations use debt. Banks use debt. Consumers use debt. The modern financial system is built on borrowed money. But debt creates dependency, and dependency creates power. Think about how many people spend years working just to pay mortgages, loans, credit cards, interest payments. Their future income is already connected to debt obligations. Now imagine that same idea at a global level. Countries owe money. Banks owe money. Entire economies depend on credit expansion. That's why central banks have enormous influence. When interest rates rise, borrowing slows down. Businesses struggle. Consumers spend less. Markets react. One decision creates massive ripple effects across the entire economy. Again, connection. Part 6. The petrodollar connection. One of the most important financial connections in modern history involves oil. For decades, global oil trade has been heavily tied to the US dollar. This created worldwide demand for dollars because countries needed dollars to buy energy. That system strengthened America's financial influence enormously. But today, something interesting is happening. Some nations are slowly exploring alternatives. And if major global systems begin changing, the financial consequences could be massive. Because currencies are not only about economics. They're about global influence, trade power, military strength, political alliances. Money and geopolitics are deeply connected. Always have been. Part 7. Why ordinary people feel left behind. Many people today feel like the financial system is becoming harder to survive in. Housing feels expensive. Food costs more. Wages feel weaker. Opportunities feel uneven. And part of that frustration comes from not understanding how rapidly the world is changing. Technology is accelerating wealth creation faster than ever before. But technology also rewards people who adapt quickly. The internet created new millionaires. AI may create entirely new industries again. And historically, the people who recognize new connections early often benefit the most. That doesn't mean everyone becomes rich, but it does mean the world rewards awareness. The financial system constantly changes, and people who refuse to evolve often get left behind. Part 8. The most valuable skill in the future. The future may belong to people who can connect ideas better than everyone else. Not just memorize information, but understand relationships. Because information is everywhere now. AI can answer questions instantly. News spreads globally in seconds. But understanding patterns, that's different. That's rare. The people who succeed financially in the future may not be the people who work hardest. They may be the people who understand systems the fastest. People who understand technology, psychology, markets, human behavior, and change. Because everything is becoming interconnected, faster than ever before. Part 9. Money is human behavior. At its core, money is not just economics. It's human behavior. Markets rise because people become optimistic. Markets crash because people become afraid. Currencies strengthen because people trust systems. Banks survive because people believe in stability. The entire financial world depends on collective human belief. And belief itself is a connection. A shared agreement between millions of people. That's why confidence matters so much in economics. Once confidence disappears, systems begin shaking very quickly, and history has shown this repeatedly. Part 10. The hidden truth. Most people spend their lives learning how to earn money, without learning how money actually works. But once you start seeing connections, everything changes. You begin understanding why. Wars affect markets. Technology creates wealth. Fear spreads volatility. Central banks matter. And information moves money. You stop seeing isolated events. You start seeing systems. And maybe that's the biggest financial advantage of all. Because wealth is often built by people who recognize patterns before the crowd does. The modern financial world looks chaotic on the surface. But underneath, there's structure. Invisible structure. A giant network connecting governments, banks, markets, technology, energy, psychology, and people. And every day, money flows through those connections. Most people only see headlines. But the people who truly understand finance learn to see relationships instead. Because once you understand connection, you begin understanding power. And once you understand power, you begin understanding money. And maybe that's the real difference between people who simply work for money and people who understand the system behind it.